Get this. Wow, Ford. So Ford and GM literally just showed up at the White House. They went into the Oval Office to lobby the President of the United States to stop you from fixing your own vehicle. I'm not kidding. That's not an exaggeration. That's exactly what they just did. Like, Ford is just stepping in it every single time I turn on a camera. On June 3rd, GM CEO Mary Barra, Ford's Andrew Frick, the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, and the NADA, all of them walked into the Oval Office. And the very next day, President Trump, he goes on camera and says out loud on record, he said, "We had the auto industry in yesterday. They don't want people to fix their car." And then he said, "That's strange. I've never heard of that." That's not a joke. That's why they went to the White House. Ford and GM are so desperate for you to not repair your own vehicles that they took this to the White House. They want to block you from repairing your vehicles with legislation. Lobbyists in Washington, D.C. are now in control of the future of right to repair, the future of your ownership over the vehicle that you bought and paid for. Now, let's expose the shell game here. This is where it gets slippery, because these guys didn't just walk in there holding a sign that said ban repairs. That's not at all how any of this works. Now, there are two bills sitting in Congress right now. The Repair Act, that's the real one, and that would give you and your independent mechanic actual legal access to your car's data. Diagnostic data, telematics, all of it. Now, there'd be no restrictions, no manufacturer gatekeeping. The other bill is H.R. 7389. That's the Motor Vehicle Modernization Act. And Ford and GM and the Alliance for Automotive Innovation are all publicly backing that one, because it passed committee 48-1 in May. Now that sounds good, right? Well, here's the catch. The telematics provision, that's the part about your data. That's the part about you being able to control how you get information in and out of your truck or car or changing it. That all got stripped out entirely. It's gone. The one thing that actually matters to independent repair shops, the one thing that would cost these companies the most, it's not in this bill. So they didn't go to Washington to kill repair. They went to Washington to make sure that the version of repair that passes is the version that they wrote. That's actually harder to fight because on paper, it looks like a win to so many people watching from the outside. Okay, now let's take apart this argument a little bit. When you begin to push back on any of this, you know what you get? Safety, cybersecurity. They'll tell you that giving your mechanic access to your car's software is a security risk, it's a hacking risk. That opening up telematics data could let somebody take remote control of your vehicle. It sounds scary. It's supposed to. Think about what they're actually saying. They're worried you might repair your own vehicle incorrectly. Maybe repair it and sell it, and the next owner won't know. That's literally their argument. But the truth is, that's not Ford's problem. It has never been Ford's problem. People have been buying things, fixing things, and selling things since before Ford's existed. That's what ownership means. You buy it, it's yours, and you decide what happens to it. Ford doesn't get to redefine that because software is now involved. Now, the FTC apparently studied this. Cybersecurity experts studied this. What they actually found was that attacks on connected vehicles come from poor software quality and poor device security, not because a mechanic in Seattle, Washington has access to your OBD port. And when automakers tried to use this same argument to fight Massachusetts' right to repair law in court, they pointed to federal regulations that supposedly required them to lock down the data. The court went looking for those regulations. They didn't exist. They were citing laws that had never even been written. Oh, and this is rich. These same companies that say that they can't share your diagnostic data with your mechanic, they're selling your driving behavior data to Verisk and LexisNexis so that your insurance company can raise your rates. And we covered that in a previous video. And they're doing all of that without even telling you, without even asking you. They'll sell it to a data broker, but they won't hand it to the guy that you trust to change your brakes. Okay, so now let's connect this to the larger IP control argument. This isn't just about cars. I've been saying for a while now that what we're watching across all of these fights, whether it's your 3D printer, your tractor, your car, or your truck, this is a war on who gets to sit between you and the thing that you own. That's the real asset. Not the vehicle, it's not the part. It's the layer of control between you and that object. John Deere figured this out years ago. You buy a $500,000 combine. You own the metal. But John Deere owns the software. You can't fix it yourself. You can't even have your local guy fix it. You wait for their technician. You pay their rate. You work on their timeline. And their timeline doesn't matter when it's harvest time for you. Ford and GM are trying to build the same model. Your car has a security gateway. That gateway decides what data leaves the vehicle and who gets it. Right now, they're saying that the gateway is for your safety. What it's actually for is making sure that every repair dollar flows through an authorized dealer. And if you think that's going to stop at repair, it's not. Your car already tracks everywhere that you go. How fast you drive, how hard you brake. The data is already being sold. The repair lockout is just the part that directly hits your wallet today. By 2035, the projections show 155 million vehicle owners impacted by restricted repair access. That's adding something like $200 a year per person to average repair bills. $30 billion pulled out of your pocket and pushed into dealer service departments. That's not a side effect. That is literally what they want. It's the plan. Now look, the president of the United States saying this, it matters. He stood in the Oval Office the day after meeting and told the country that the auto industry walked in asking him to restrict your ability to fix your own vehicle. That's the president publicly breaking with his own industry guests on camera. Now, whether it turns into actual legislation that has teeth, specifically around telematics, specifically around data access, that's really the question. Because the bill that passed committee with the big bipartisan vote already has the hard part taken out. Now, what you should be doing is watching what passes, not what they say. Watch what actually passes and what's in the bill. Because if they were desperate enough to walk into the White House to get this, they aren't going to give up and just walk away. The future of vehicles and ownership are at stake, and their vision of what that looks like depends on you not owning anything.